Hello, everybody. This is Theodore with Lies of the Devil YouTube channel, where I expose lies of the devil, and there are many devils out there. This one is about Kent Hovind, and don't fool yourself. The guy is a wicked individual. This Steve individual I have on the phone right with me, he lived at DAL for a number of months and witnessed things that I've been trying to warn you all about. It's not even me. It's what Christ is using me to impart unto you, to warn you. So just to give you an idea of what Steve knows, and I'll let him speak here soon, is that Steve, the IT guy, not Steve, this Steve's totally different than Steve, the IT guy. Steve, the IT guy, I put out a video about how he goes to Colorado, buys large amounts of marijuana. He bugs the place. He spies on volunteers, okay? That there's numerous injuries that happen at DAL that, Steve probably killed this man's dog, and there's evidence of that. It's crazy. So we're going to try to take it bit by bit, and go ahead, Steve, explain to people who you are, how you know about DAL, how long have you known Kent, and then we'll get right into the child that drowned and how you were there to witness it.
My family, me, my wife, and it was just our daughter, but we have a son now. She was pregnant while we were living there. We were there for a total of 3 months altogether. I had been following Kent since I was a child, very, very young, 5, 6, 7 years old. In the homeschooling groups, his material was pretty popular even back in the early 90s. And I started picking back up on his YouTube videos when he was released from prison, and I found out that he was doing it again. So I've been following him, you can say, my whole life.
Okay, so explain to everybody the feeling of DAL when you first got there, and then kind of summarize the red flags leading up to the point where you left.
So when you first get there, you feel this overwhelming welcomeness. Everyone is so polite. You feel like you're supposed to be there. You build relationships very quickly that make you want to stay, even if you're not feeling some of the red flags yet. But there were several red flags for my family. For one thing, it's the amount that they work you. They can say it's not an actual 8 to 3 or 9 to 5 job, but it really is. There's so much pressure put on you. You start work at 8 a.m. and you can take off at 5, but there's pressure there to keep working even past then sometimes. I certainly have worked many days long into the night just to get projects finished so that we'd be further ahead the next day. So there's so much pressure to work. They give you 2 days off a week, but even on your days off, now I would say Monday more than Sundays. Some Sundays you won't get bothered at all or feel pressured to work. But every Monday, you're feeling pressured to work. They're either coming to your cabin and telling you projects that they really need done, or they're getting and telling your buddies projects they need done. And then they'll have your buddies go and tell you, hey, I could really use help. I have to do this. I have to work on my day off. Can you help me? So you end up helping too. So you really get maybe 1 day off a week on a Sunday.
And explain to everybody, Kent, how Saturday is the Sabbath, and my family and I, we try our best to keep the Sabbath, but he won't even let you take Saturdays off.
No, we were denied that. The first week you're there, he works you, he watches you, he sees if you're a benefit to DAL or whether he would just rather have you go off your own way. So he decided, I guess my family was of value enough, I worked hard enough, that he invited us to stay in Linux at DAL for long term. work in exchange for room and board and 3 hots and a cot. It's just it's a weird feeling there after so long. You're required to be there at 8 a.m. every day for this meeting, and it's always the same thing, which projects they want you to cut to. It's never new information, but it's mandatory that you're there. So that was one thing. And then they never come out and tell you that it's mandatory to be at the Bible studies, although there are several that were mandatory. But there's just also, it's the pressure that they put on you to attend all these things.
Right. That was the big deal when Lene and my wife were there, is it is mandatory to go to his infomercial Bible studies, Right. And the big thing is it's an act. What you like when you're there at first, it's kind of like, oh, I'll see through it because I understand that, preachers get up at the pulpit, they have to be charismatic, this, that, and the other. But it starts to become creepy. I don't know how you felt, but it becomes creepy because it's like a light switch goes off, and he becomes this.
It is creepy. And the first flag for me was when we had our week meeting after being there for the first week, and I expressed to him that we try to observe the creation Sabbath of Saturday, and he explained to us, he's such a word master, explained to us that Saturday is our busiest day, so that there was just no way we could take Saturday off. Pretty much letting us know from the start that you won't be taking your regular Sabbath here. And the joke about it is he uses the word game that it's the busiest day because of visitors, but all he ever had me do, except for the exception of 1 or 2 days, was work, regular construction. So he knows that it's all, blowing smoke, but it doesn't matter to him because that's another day of labor he can get from you, regardless of how you feel on your beliefs or your convictions, or if you feel you're sinning to help him accomplish his goal will be accomplished, or he'll replace you. That's why he loves getting disenfranchised people in there. I would say 8 out of 10 of the family units there are disenfranchised people, or people that have fewer options, so they have to take more that he gives out.
So and we're going to talk about how we're going to talk more about the work and how now he's threatening to cut people off from food if they don't work hard enough for him, and we'll get to that. But let's talk about the tragic event of the child and how Kent. Well, explain to us your perspective. What happened with the child that drowned?
So what happened with the family came from Indiana. They stayed in the cabin next to us. They were in cabin 6. My family was placed in cabin 5. So we were trying to get close with the family from the first day, being nice to the kids. My wife and I, we love kids, so we were nice to them. So they'd come over and talk to us a lot. When the incident happened, when the child drowned, that was the second biggest red flag for me and my wife because of, one, how Kent handled the situation, but 2, just seeing the total lack of human emotion or any empathy from him. He was such a machine about it. There was nothing that resonated like his soul was grieved. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
The day that it happened, what they don't tell you is I've seen Kent go on the video, and what really upset me is he said, the parent was just 3 feet away, which is a total lie. The kids are all swimming in the lake. The mom is at her cabin. The dad is in the pavilion playing pool. He's shooting pool with a couple of the others. Now, occasionally, he's peeking his head out the door, but he's not 3 feet away. If you were there, you know how far the pavilion is from the lake. It's a distance, and the kids were even further out there in the water. So that's the biggest lie he tells, was that the one child was 3 feet away from the dad. No one knows how it happened. Well, how it actually happened was we started hearing shouts come from the water. We were down there grilling. We had started this fellowship on Sundays and Mondays that we were trying to keep going with the community. We'd all grill out down there. So we hear the screaming coming from the water, and it's their oldest son, and he's starting to drown. So the dad rushes out there and is able to save the oldest son. And in the meantime, he's taking count of his kids and realizes that there is an additional son missing. So we all scatter to try to find him. And that's when we did find him. The dad found him underwater and put him on the dock. He was in there underwater for so long. He was blue. His lips were blue.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, you could just tell he had been underwater for a while. So they almost lost 2 sons that day. While Kent lies and says and tells stories about how close the father was. You know, if the father's 3 feet away, people, how do you almost have two children drown, much less one?
Wow.
And keep in mind, there's no safety precautions in place for the lake at this time. There's no warning signs. As a matter of fact, my friend and I are the ones who had to put up the swim at your own risk signs ourselves, and that was only put up about 3 weeks ago for a fishing tournament. So there are no warnings to swim safe, nothing telling you the depth of the lake, nothing.
So I just want to recap this. It's as if the mom and the dad are in awe with this place. They're not paying attention to what's going on around them. And
It is, yeah.
and that's the big thing, is that people go there and it's a cult of personality. Let's talk about the hospital. So the child is blue, meaning and that's the thing, it's sand. It's a dirt, it's a gravel pit. So everything underneath that lake is sand. You get stuck in that sand, you're stuck. Especially if you're a little child, you don't have the strength to pull yourself out of this wet mud that you're trapped in.
Yeah, and that's the other part that really didn't make sense, is the parents know that none of these kids could swim. They didn't disclose any of that information, but they knew themselves, and they didn't bring any swimming clothes. So the boys, for sure, are swimming in jean pants. You know, they're out in the lake in these jean pants weighing you down, and they can't swim. So it takes about, I'd say, 10 or 15 minutes for the ambulance to finally arrive. They had one fire emergency show up before them, but there was nothing he could do. The doctor on site was already administering CPR while they waited. We'll say the shorter time frame, maybe 10 minutes before the paramedic arrived, they got him in the ambulance, but they pretty much from their face let us know right then that he was already gone. Because when he arrived to the hospital, he was declared, dead on site.
So what is what is his third wife, Cindy, doing? Because let me say this. So in, Kent, there was a child that was abducted at DAL. Okay. It was, it's in the Kent Hovind Wolf in Sheep's Clothing documentary. I have the text message proving that the secretary, Rhonda, who isn't there anymore because Kent asked her to do some shady financial stuff, so she left, so she's not there anymore. But I have the text of her saying, no more kids around this property until there's security in place. Security cameras
I've seen that text message.
You've seen that? Okay. So there was a family that came to visit. They were Russians, because the Russians have gone through a lot of persecution. Okay, with the Soviet Union. Okay, so Kent has this following with a lot of Russians, and that following's gone now. I mean, there's very few left, but that was his following, because they all knew what it was like to be a martyr, and Kent wants to be a martyr. That's the point. That's the whole issue. He wants to be a martyr because it brings in the money, and he's going to go down as a legacy, like Paul. Besides that, this Russian family comes down to the visit, and it's about nighttime. We're all getting ready to eat dinner, and all of a sudden, people come running up, screaming. I believe it's Brady, Byrum, and a few others yelling, "A child is missing. Their child is missing. We need to go find the child." So everybody books it, gets flashlights. They're all looking for the child. It's nighttime at this point, okay? And they find the kid, and the child is just crying uncontrollably. And he tells everybody, there was a man that was in the bushes, and he held me down on the ground, and he was trying to take me. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, and everybody's just like, we're just. So we get back. Kent, he didn't even go look. He didn't care. Him and Mary Toka were eating pie. And again, it's not just me. There's Deborah Henderson Sheds Light. She talks about this. Go look her up on YouTube. Kent and Mary are eating pie, and they could care less about the kid. And then when we confronted him and said, "Hey, this kid says he got abducted," Kent's like, "Oh, well, children, when they're scared, they lie. They like to lie." And so that Russian family left that night. They left.
They're smart. There's no safety at all. It's a giant construction site with a playground in the middle of it. The cameras that are on property are not to watch the outward world from getting in. It's to watch us who were staying there.
Wait, say that again. So there's
cameras on property so that they can watch us.
There's cameras on property to watch you guys.
Yes,
this is like Jim Jones stuff, dude.
Now they have a gate. You've seen the gate, but they don't keep it locked. Like, there's no security, and the issue of security has been brought up by the current secretary multiple times, that we have an issue. There is inadequate security here. Even if there was a problem, they could never prevent another child from coming up missing there, unless the parent is legitimately 3 feet away.
Wow. So
now back to the hospital part of the story with the family who came from Indiana. While they're still in the hospital room grieving over their son because he had just been pronounced dead, right before they got that pronunciation, a group of us showed up in the other DAL van. We're all praying and waiting, and as soon as it's confirmed to all of us, we all start praying. We're all crying. Doc is walking around shaking hands with people in the hospital emergency room, passing out DAL flyers. Come to DAL, telling them about DAL, while this other family is on the other side of the wall, and they just lost a son at DAL. Doc is so incompassionate at that time, he's trying to advertise for more visitors.
So, for the people listening, I'm going to recap this, okay? So, the family is... they're at the hospital. They're mourning over their child. All the DAL volunteers are mourning over this child that just died. And Kent's walking around, handing out promotional material, telling people, "Hey, come down to DAL."
Yes, exactly.
And
that
then
is exactly it, to our disbelief.
Okay, there's Kent. He's psychotic, man. That's not right. There's something wrong with. Anyway, so you mentioned that when he wanted to leave, he just was straight up like, "Hey, everybody, let's go." He didn't even care about the family.
No, that was it. He said, let's do this. Basically, everybody, let's load up. And we loaded up, and we had to leave. My wife and Kent's wife, Miss Cindy, were watching the other kids at DAL while the mom and the dad were there with the son who drowned, Stephen. So my wife and Cindy are watching the kids until the parents got back. And then when the parents got back, Kent immediately wants to take them all out for dinner. Probably, I would guess, to smooth things over. So he takes them all out to dinner. DHR came by that night to get witness statements from everybody about what had happened on site. So once a few of us give our statements to DHR about what had happened, they wanted to talk to the parents. And as soon as they wanted to talk to the parents, Doc shooed them away. He said they've been through enough, not right now, and gets them to leave the property. So, to our amazement, really.
So Kent's covering it up.
I can't say 100% that I know he was trying to cover it up. But when you skirmish off DHR like that and say, come back another time because the parents have been through enough, it makes it shady.
Yeah.
And I told you before that we stayed in the cabin right next door to the family. So we can hear a conversation going on between the dad and Doc, who are sitting on his side-by-side, Doc's side-by-side, having a conversation with what we took to be an attorney, asking what kind of life insurance they had, what their situation was. So they were too distraught, Kent thought, to talk to DHR at that time. But then as soon as DHR leaves, he's got an attorney on the phone, and they're all hashing out details.
It's his attorney, J.R. Hughes, I bet. J.R. Hughes, that with Ernest Land, admits that Kent is hiding and transferring money, basically doing the same stuff that landed him in prison the first time. I guarantee it was J.R. Hughes. Wow. So J.R. Hughes, Kent's lawyer. No, this is crazy. All right. All right, man. That was more information than I knew the first time around. Let's leave it at that, and we'll talk more in the future. Anyway, thank you for being a man and coming out. I know that Kent intimidates, he threatens, and a lot of people won't stand up and say anything because Kent will try to ruin their life. All right? And You're standing up and saying something, and I'm not saying that people that don't speak up are cowards or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. But I thank God that you're standing up and you're saying something. I pray that God blesses you and your family. And, if anything's going on, I told you, you get a hold of me. I know who to call. And, we'll in future videos, we're going to talk about Steve and how you're pretty confident that he killed your dog.
Yep.
Shot the dog in the head, threw the collar 10 feet away. And all the other stuff that's going on. And
the accidents that they try to cover up or keep from making it to the emergency room so that they don't have any more stigma.
Like people falling off ladders, fingers
falling off ladders, and making people work on wet roofs, so they're slipping and breaking ribs. My best friend who was there got caught up in an auger and was just moments away from cracking all his ribs. He probably would have died.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll say, we could do a whole nother interview on just that, on just the accidents that happened at DAL behind the scenes, all the behind the scenes.
And then Scott, the old shop manager, he's made comments on YouTube on some videos, some of the last videos I put out, talk about how Kent, and he believes Kent and Cindy, and I'd like to get him on the phone. If not, that's okay, that they're involved in a land scheme, takeover of some land, but that he's even seen stuff. He said that it's horrible. Kent's a huge narcissist. He's a wicked person. He'll never say sorry for anything. He doesn't know what repentance is.
I believe that he was put in prison in the first place to humble himself because he was so prideful. And if he wasn't a true believer then, it was to put him on the right track. And he took that 9 years, and he just developed this narcissist tone about himself that's so evident. He's so proud, and he thinks he's owed everything.
Yeah.
I would warn people about that. Just be aware that You know, you may feel like he loves you and he loves your family, but as soon as he's done with you, your number's up. You're gone.
You know,
He'll buy you a bus ticket to get you out of there.
you know, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, and that is true. Well, this is what's dark. His wife has said to me personally, and in emails that I have, that Kent was always this way. The first day they got married, he switched, and that's what psychopaths do. You know, they it's charisma. Once they have you in their claws, they've got you, and then that's when they rip their mask off. And I'm the same. I believe the same thing that you do. That here's the thing. He was this person from the very beginning. He gets puffed up in pride. And like you said, if he was a Christian, God put him in prison to humble him. And if he was not a Christian, it was there to correct him. Okay? And he just went in there, and God uses evil people to go after evil people all throughout the Bible. And so Kent gets put into prison, and he just gets worse. Just like his wife said, how from the very first day they got married, he's just continually getting worse. And that's why he's falling apart publicly in front of everybody. And he still won't apologize, and people still won't believe how bad this stuff is. They'll say that you're lying. They'll say that I'm lying. They'll say that all these other witnesses, there's tons of them. They'll say all of those people are lying.
His problem is that he is the definition of a control freak. He wants control over every minute project going on the property. He will make you do it incorrectly if that's how he was taught to do it 40 or 50 years ago. He's got his poor wife under total submission. I mean, there's points where there's so much murmuring going around at DAL. He would not let her talk to any of us. As a matter of fact, they would take their meals at home so that she couldn't conversate with anyone. She wouldn't be allowed to.
All right, brother. I'm gonna let you get going here. Enjoy the Memorial Day. I'm gonna get this out. Again, I thank God that you have the confidence to come out and say something, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop recording here, and I'll talk with you offline. But Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. John 8:32, ye shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And I'm going to end it out on this Bible verse right here, because God's word is the truth. Okay, there's no truth outside of God's word. Matthew 18:6, but whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea.